So I'm Mark Newman, founder of Hirevue. Thanks for joining us. And we're going to introduce Hirevue to you today and a little bit about who we are, what we do, who we do it for, and go from there. So our entire mission at Hirevue is to help build, develop, and train the world's best teams through video intelligence. What does that actually mean? What it means is we took everything around video, everything around analytics, and brought it to bear to empower people to tell their story, to demonstrate their ability to work, to be who they are and who they want to be, not be a resume, a profile, or anything like that. We've been fortunate to continue to grow and grow well globally. We work in 180 different countries at any given moment. We're over $40 million in revenue this year. We've raised capital from top-tier investors, and it's frankly just been a dream run around what we've been able to work on. We've been recognized for the best places to work, where would people want to work, how people want to be part of it. We've won the HR Product of the Year award 5 out of the last 7 years. And in this past year, we've actually completed over 3 million interviews. And so we'll talk about what that is, what that means, and who we do it for here in a second. But the world for us is quite large. There's 1 billion interviews done every single year to hire the people in the professional workforce. And we haven't stopped until we do them all. We're fortunate to be serving the world's most important companies. If you care about your brand, if you care about the scale you have, the repeatability of the problem around trying to hire great people at scale, if you care about having a consistent, structured approach, and more importantly, want to be leveraging analytics around how you hire, we are the only partner for you globally. We work with the who's who of financial services organizations, consumer brands, sports teams, industrials, health and pharma, retail, you name it. Fundamentally, when you're hiring people, and when you're hiring people at scale, if you think about it, for every one person you hire, you interview or screen 5 to 10. You try to expand that even more. You have a massive funnel and massive pool. Some of our clients that hire 60, 70,000 people a year, in fact, have to engage with over 10 million candidates to get there. So for Hirevue, in terms of our position, where we work with people, and how we want to engage with them in the world, is to be working with the 2,000 most important companies in it. Last but not least, every one of our customers always wins. In the past Super Bowl, both the Falcons and the Patriots used Hirevue to build their teams. Not quite the players yet, everyone around them. We're opening up the new stadium down in Atlanta, and in terms of the Falcons interview process, it's amazing. Arthur Blank, co-founder of Home Depot, actually recorded the questions along with Steve Cannon, who used to be the CEO of Mercedes, who's now the CEO of AMB Group. We have players, we have coaches, you name it, all part of the interview process to get to know candidates, who they are, introduce themselves, what they're about, and rock and roll from there. And as you've got to know the industry and got to know the space around recruiting and HR technology, we've partnered with over 50 different providers. Where Hirevue exists in all of this is really as we feel the people layer on top of the systems of record. The systems out there today, whether it's Oracle, Taleo, Connexa, Workday, you name it, is fantastic at tracking a process, going step by step by step. We distributed this job, we got these amount of resumes, we pass them through, we do approvals, we do recs, we do et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, as you go down that path. But every time every one of you in this room has hired somebody, or interviewed somebody, or tries to make those decisions, you're hopping on the phone, you're trying to get to know them, you're meeting them in person, you're doing that part of it. That's all the good stuff. That's where you want to get to know the people. And that doesn't exist in any system today, but does exist in Hirevue. So we think of ourselves as the people layer on top of all the systems of record out there. So how do we deliver value? We talked about who we work with, a little bit about what it is, but let me walk you through exactly how it works. We solve 3 specific challenges inside of our customer base. Okay? The first challenge is we spend millions and millions of dollars sourcing talent, but we don't uncover the best. And by the time we uncover them, they're gone. Right? So if you think about it, to get 70,000 hires at a JP Morgan, they have millions of candidates. Right? And there's a lot of providers out there that say, oh, well, you can't find the talent you want. Then you just need millions of more of applicants. That's not the problem. Right? The problem is it's a yield problem. It's like a retail problem. You know, you have your produce on the shelf and you need to get through it before it goes bad to make those decisions. And so what we've found is that on the average job opening, there's 250 applicants, yet only 6 to 10 are even considered. So how do you consider more? Well, you use video. The second part is even when I source the best, I can't hire them fast enough. We think of this as the time to expire. right, versus the time to hire. In your careers, in the world that you live in terms of teams that you've built, how many of you have ever had an applicant say, oh, I was available then, but I'm not available now? Right? So how do you get to the point of hire faster, the decision immediately? And we do that with video. And so the way our view and the way our worldview looks is is that the perfect hiring process is literally one candidate, one question, 1 minute, 1 day with an instant decision around if you should hire that person. That's where we spend our time. That's where we want to go after this. Everything else is waste, right? Everything else is let's have them meet 10 to 12 people before we make this decision. And what do you think? 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 And we found that we can actually take a lot around best practices around building a production system, asking standardized questions, going through it consistently, branding it through the entire process, and have this happen that the decision can be almost instant. And so the companies that we showed you are working and fighting to get to instant hiring as fast as they can. And the last part is we've talked about our mission around build, develop, and train and lead people is that Hirevue isn't just about recruiting. We actually brought out an entire business around coaching and practice for post-hire, for people that are already on your team, the people that are already there. I'm going to show you how that works here in a second. But the fundamental problem that we solve there is every single one of us has spent millions of dollars flying people in to do a sales kickoff. Let's do a sales training. Let's put people through this. Let's have them go through these course materials. Let's have them go to the heart of it. And that, for all the good things, that means that it might have worked or you might have checked a box. They went through this training, but it didn't assess, did it actually stick? They didn't get a chance to practice it. Unfortunately, for most organizations, practice is in front of the customer, and that's really expensive. And so we've brought an approach to solve that problem here. So how do we do it? Our entire world is focusing on build and coach, and how do you go about this? And you use video and predictive analytics from the point of when you identify a person to when you're ramping them up to get them into your organization faster. What happens first is the candidates go through a video interview or a video assessment or practice session. This could be candidates in the recruiting process or your team members on your team. All of it is on demand. Everything is recorded, right? That's the key. Everything is recorded. So for you as leaders, you'll never forget. You'll always remember. It isn't, this candidate on Monday said this, and by Friday, I don't remember what they said and how do they do it, or I was at a conference all week in Salt Lake. I talked to them on Monday. Frankly, I don't even remember who they are. So it's like your worst nightmare as an investment professional when you're meeting a bunch of different companies, and then by the end of the week, you don't remember who was on Tuesday and which one was this, and you try to make terrible notes about, oh, I think that's the guy with glasses, and was that the one wearing the funny shirt, and was that to wear this? I've seen all the notes as we've gone through it all. Now think of it as hiring when you're making decisions about people's lives. We want to solve that. We record everything. And then you share their feedback and you get it among your team. But second, in the presentation before this was talking about what can you do with analytics, and is it hopes, is it dreams, is it real, is it not? Well, what we invented over the last few years was an entirely closed loop system around understanding what you can get and what you can glean from all those recordings. So we went first. This was about 4 years ago, where we said, listen, we've recorded a ton of stuff for our customers. Right? When we first started Hirevue, our first year we sold 2 interviews. And this year we're doing 3 million of them. And our customers came to us and said, listen, I appreciate all these interviews we're doing. We're saving a ton of time. We're saving a ton of money. We're asking people standard questions. They're going through it. The quality is going up. But can you tell us which ones are the best ones? And so we looked at it as a production system problem. We said, okay, listen, let's see. We have the standard session that everyone goes through, and we actually map it to outcomes. Who got hired, who didn't? Who was a top performer, who wasn't? Who showed up, who didn't? Who passed certification, who crushed it? All these kind of various things that we all want to aspire to and understand and know at scale inside of organizations. And then we built our insights engine in the middle to glean all of that and do it in an automatic way. So every single one of those interviews and every single one of those coaching sessions that we record in, we analyze. We leverage machine learning and deep learning on top of it to analyze the voice, the language, the words that they use, and the emotions that they display while they're saying it. Okay? This unlocks massive potential inside of your talent pool, because number one on paper is never number one, is hardly ever number one for the job. And how do you get to the good stuff, the intrinsic motivators of an individual, and how do you want to understand that? And we found we can do that. We can understand active voice versus passive voice, and ums and ahs and utterances and all these various elements, and how they talk about solving problems, and they talk about we versus they versus I. And when you say things like, I love my boss, well, if you just read the text, it says, I love my boss. If you hear the tonal, it says, oh, I love my boss. If you read their emotions and they're rolling their eyes as they're saying it, they're like, I love my boss. That's value, that's power. And it gets to the understanding of the essence of who a human being is. And we go deep. We get as many possible points of variance and data points as we possibly can inside of these interviews, because when we do this, what we found is that we give the people the shot that they never thought that they deserved to have or could have. Right? The talent that was number 100 on paper all of a sudden gets bubbled up to the front because we understand the essence of who they are. And for our customers, as all these applicants come in and all these candidates come in and all these people do their practice sessions, typical hiring selection distribution, right? When you're hiring people, is just all over the place. Sometimes it's first in, first out. Sometimes it's best on paper. Sometimes it's this. Sometimes it's what was my mood? All those various elements that we've all struggled with in our lives. Sometimes it's, I just need to make a decision. Here's this. Let's just move forward. It's random. It's chance. That's why people say hiring process is only 50% accurate, because it is. But what if you can make it better? So we structure the questions, everyone goes through the same thing, we map it to outcomes, the scores happen automatically, and people get instant feedback on a candidate. And then we redistribute how the candidates get consumed by recruiting organizations and managers. It's fun. It's absolutely a blast. So, Hirevue in action. We don't believe we exist unless we drive a hard dollar, soft dollar ROI for every one of our customers. We have to deliver day zero value. As soon as you start using Hirevue, your life becomes better, your organization save time, your organization save money, and you make better decisions. That is an ethos for us. We have to create immediate value for our customers, and we have. As customers deploy us, this was a third-party research study that they went out with and analyzed our entire base. They not only said, we save time, we save money, but we have better performers, we reduce turnover, we increase our pipeline growth, we have our sales achievement go up. We increase our upsells. One of our favorite driving companies reduce their safety violations by 50%. Just understanding at scale, are people going to hurt our passengers? More specifically, with individual companies, we take an approach where we look at it as, let's see the technology adoption frontier. Who's doing cool stuff with us? And how are they doing it? And you have organizations that say, listen, let's just use on-demand, build interviews and specific focus programs, campus recruiting, or retailer teller hiring, or some program like that. Versus let's drive complete automation, like a Netflix around customer service, or let's go do this globally, like a Vodafone or Goldman Sachs or Hilton Worldwide. And I'll show you some specific case studies, examples of these. But for instance, like a Huntington Bank took hiring tellers from a 60-day process to a 13-day process. Every teller, they have quantified what the value is of having a teller in place from a cross-sell and upsell revenue or customer retention perspective, and you name it. And they now made it that a decision doesn't have to be made by managers, or managers don't have to fear losing their rec or anything like that. They can just scale, they can run, they can operate their business. For Hilton Worldwide, over across thousands and thousands of hires, they've taken their hiring process down from 45 days to 4 days. And those people stay longer, they sell more, and they're passionate about the brand. It's totally transformational for them as customers. So let's talk a few examples. IBM Watson. This goes to the essence of what we talk about around identifying that number one on paper is not necessarily number one for the job. IBM needs to hire thousands and thousands of data scientists. How many of you in organizations are trying to hire data scientists? Exactly. And we're like, let's get me a data scientist, right? That's the thing. Let's go after it. Okay, was there a degree program in data science? No. If a person has a computer science degree, does that mean they're going to be a good data scientist? Not at all. Some of the best data scientists are anthropologists or econometricians or you name it. It's not about what you can do, it's how you think and how you think about abstract problems. Even myself, hiring data scientists, you have everyone that focuses on business logic to developer and focuses on their development skills with R. And they all call themselves data scientists. So how do you get to the essence of it? IBM also struggles with a problem where for years, developers coming in and being hired by an organization like them had to have a CS degree or an IS degree. right? We all went through this. Let's go apply for a job at IBM. Oh, I don't have a CS degree. All right, I'm excluded out. Well, you know, that's pretty messed up. Because in today's world, a kid might have started programming when he was 10, and by the time he was 18 and going to college, the idea for him of going and doing a CS degree, well, he wanted to blow his brains out. He wanted to go do a music degree. He wanted to do an English degree or whatever. But it turns out when they came out of school at 22 years old, they had 10 years of programming experience, and that they could wipe the floor of the kid that decided to go get a CS degree because they thought they should learn how to code. And so how do you get to the essence of it? And that was our partnership with IBM there, where we went and uncovered thousands and thousands and thousands of candidates who got to demonstrate their abilities through a coding challenge and talk about how they think about solving problems. And we modeled that against their data science requirements and their competencies there, and fundamentally changed how they rebuild their teams. What they actually do now is they call them closing events. They bring in 200 people, and they are so confident in their upfront screening, they'll hire 196 of them. And they just execute. Goldman Sachs decided to totally rebuild how they do their campus recruiting globally. I actually started Hirevue 14 years ago because I couldn't get a job at Goldman Sachs. They have their biggest office here in Salt Lake City outside of New York, and they didn't hire at Westminster at that time, the school that I went to, and I was out. So I started Hirevue, figured I'd get a couple years of experience, go to an MBA, and then try to apply at Goldman Sachs again. After 13 years, decided, hey, Hirevue worked out for me. No need to go back there, but what we did uncover was that for a company like Goldman Sachs, it isn't about hiring people with the right credentials. It's about hiring people that will come in, feel like they got the shot that they never thought they'd get, and that they will die for you. And that's what we've partnered with them and uncovered. In our first season together, they massively changed their diversity numbers. They were much more inclusive. They went to way more schools than they ever did before, and fundamentally transformed how they bring new talent into the organization. They are going to win. And if you look up their environmental, social, and their ESRG report, they actually just published a video talking about all this, which was crazy, about how using videos totally transformed how they build their business. Unilever. It's a leadership development program, more tied to the education world here and the training world that we're all part of this conference for. In 53 different countries, they get 250,000 applicants for 700 positions inside of their leadership development program. They actually want to look at everyone globally. They actually had Goldman do the exact same thing. They said, listen, we always used to look at this as either what country you came from or what school you came from. We've all done campus recruiting, right? We went to Notre Dame, we went to BYU, we went to the University of Utah, and we have our pool of applicants from those schools. And then we assess inside of that pool. And then I went to the school that day. So I say, oh, here's number 1, here's number 2, here's number 3. Hey, what's number 1, number 2, number 3 from the school you went to, right? And we kind of go down that whole dynamic. And those are all terrible ways to make decisions. And so what we did was we said, listen, let's take away school. Let's take away location. Let's take away all these kind of identifying characteristics that used to be criteria that would break it all apart. And let's just put them all in the same pool. Let's have every single person frankly go against each other, right? Let's have them all stacked up against each other. And how this ended up changing was everyone went into the same pool, everyone through the same process, everyone got prioritized, and people knew where the best talent was to start with first. And the change was drastic. They went from a 4-month hiring cycle down to 2 weeks in terms of getting 700 people hired from 250,000 applicants globally in 53 different countries. And the cases and the stories just go on and on. Hilton, as an example, we talked about, going on the sales side. They have an 80% reduction in time to hire, times 8,000 hires, and these people go from a 42-day hiring cycle down to actually now 3.5 days. This is even a bit old. Where the decision is almost instant. As soon as somebody says, I want to work there, they say, fantastic, introduce yourself to us. Let's interview you immediately. We've mapped it to our performance outcomes. We know what success is here. That interview happens, that interview gets scored, and based on that score, they could actually get immediately put to a hiring manager for a closing interview. We'd love to have you come join our organization. When can you start? If it's a tier 2, like not quite that score, they get prioritized to go talk to a recruiter to see if the recruiter can uncover nuggets about why that person should be moving forward. This process isn't about screening people out, it's about screening the right people in. And they execute faster. The people that they bring in stay longer, sell more, serve their customers better, and it's totally transformed their business around how they work. So as a result, for us, we feel like we have a massive opportunity in front of us. There isn't necessarily an identified budget for digital interviewing initiatives, and here's how they go after it. but there is a budget for transforming the customer's business. The assessment world is ripe for the taking for all of this. There's been $4 or $5 billion a year spent for the last 50 years on assessments that pretty much tell you which Disney princess you should be, right? At a party, do you like this? Do you like that? Do you like that part of it? And the only reason why it exists is because it was the only thing that you could do to have it standardized, structured, and repeatable and scalable for everybody. So it's 50 or 100 or 200 different multiple choice questions that you get tired of and you don't want to finish and you fall out of. And instead we say, listen, how about just 5 video questions where you get to talk about yourself, your hopes, your dreams, how you solve problems, example situations of your work. And we analyze and get to the essence of who you are and make a decision off of that. So from the assessment industry, that's first. Second, when we make everybody awesome at recruiting, turns out they don't have to spend as much on all those other things. Right? How do you actually not need as many applicants? Well, it's because you uncover what you know, what you want to know, but the ones that you have, and make better decisions. You don't have to go as much for third parties. You don't have to go out for third-party search. You don't have to go through around the spend around it all. And our customers routinely cut their recruiting costs by 50 to 70% on a regular basis. On our coach side, it's the same play. You have your systems of record, your training programs, your online, your offline learning and programs. Now, actually, let's assess, did it work? So that entire example that I showed you, around watching their candidates' responses to the questions you care about. Now think of your sales team or your service team giving me your pitch, handling this story, this objection handling. You rolled out this new product. Do they actually know how to do it or position it? And we see organizations like Honeywell totally transforming how they roll out new products because they speed their time to success to be almost instant versus months. So we're really excited about our future. We're really excited about the opportunities. When I started Hirevue 13 years ago, literally it was take a job interview through a webcam, and people said, what's a webcam? And they said, don't worry, we'll ship you one. Life has totally changed. On any given day, we're providing service in 180 different countries for the most important companies in the world. And more importantly, we're enabling people to tell their story, demonstrate their ability to work, and get the shot at the job they never actually thought they would have. And so every single day, we fight like hell to go after that. We'd love to do it. Happy to serve any of you and happy to answer any questions, and thanks for joining today. All right. Yeah.
What type of traction are you getting with Hirevue Insights? And what do you see as some pushback? What do you see as some pushback in EMEA with Hirevue Insights?
Perfect. Great question. So the adoption for Hirevue Insights is actually coming from our highest volume customers first, right? So we're about 30% penetrated inside of our customer base, and that 30% is our highest volume, highest revenue customers. So it's an interesting approach on there. From an EMEA perspective, EMEA is actually a very sophisticated market around talent assessment. They are actually first adopters around a lot of the assessment methodologies and content that's out there. And I'd say have a much more sophisticated point of view than than most US companies have ever had. And so for them, it's the next generation. We handle all data privacy components. We can keep your data in certain jurisdictions and certain environments. We comply with all those various elements because for us, it's just media servers and where we're storing it. Right? So we can meet those elements. We can meet the privacy requirements for the candidates, right? Where they can choose to opt out of it. They go through this entire program. We're very clear around kind of about the analytics on top of that. And the third part is we can make sure that the companies are very comfortable with that one time that a candidate requests this and gets this record. Here's this record. Here you are. So we check all the boxes from a compliance, privacy, data privacy perspective, marry that with a really advanced point of view inside that market, and it works out quite well. Yes?
Is your solution white label to these companies? So as an applicant, will I know that I'm interviewing with you, or will I interview with Goldman Sachs?
Yes, so it's entirely branded to the organization. And I answer the question way faster. It's entirely branded to the organization. The look, the feel, the content. And so for the company's perspective, they now can actually take all the content they care about, the videos, the managers, the CEO talking about what the vision for Vodafone as an example. Vittorio Colau, their CEO, records the introduction video that goes to every single candidate beforehand. Right? And it's the look, the emails, the landing pages, the look, the feel, et cetera, all branded to the organization, all powered from the Hirevue apps. So it's not quite white labeled like right to the company. We host it all. It's all cloud-based, but it's pretty well close. One more question? Yes?
So
The assessments piece is probably the hardest part of this. Can you share a little bit more about who is generating those assessments? Is it the companies, or is it something that Hirevue develops themselves?
Right, so from an assessment perspective, the companies, I mean, hundreds of millions of these traditional assessments happen every year, and they're taking tests, right? And they're kind of going through all of that part of it. And we look at it as a next generation jump there. So we have a team of IO psychologists and data scientists that help build those models. The companies provide we go through the questions and the experience and the volume of candidates, and we map it to the outcomes. So whatever the performance outcome is to that organization, turnover elements, performance standards, customer sat scores, you name it. From there, we leverage our machine learning and deep learning capabilities inside of the interviews and just start building it and have a validation model kicked out of it. So what used to take 6 months for a typical IO engagement to do that can now actually take as little as 2 days. So I think that's it. Thanks for having me today. Thanks for joining.